And joining Capital Review is Sarakshi Rai. She is the Director of Audience Development and Head of Social Media with our media partners at The Hill. Sarakshi, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Let's get right to it. What is your initial reaction to the State of the Union last night? Would you say that President Biden made a campaign speech, or was it like a mix?
Look, there's no denying that this was probably President Biden's most political State of the Union speech yet. He hit a lot of talking points that really highlight where he's going to be campaigning, where his focus is going to be. And it kind of gave us a preview on what he thinks are the main challenges facing, his next 4 years if he's reelected to be president. So for all intents and purposes, this was his most political speech. He came out swinging at former President Trump, who he didn't mention by name. He also attacked the Republicans for their refusal to really, over Jan 6, 2021 Capitol riots. And, he hit them on that, especially saying that, he's not going to deny that happened. He also went after them for their failure to pass the bipartisan border bill. So really, he really used this as a platform to air his grievances, as well as give the American public an insight into what his focus is going to be when he campaigns for president, for re-election, as well as what his next term as president might look like.
Well, Sarakshi, many people still consider the president's age as a vulnerability. He even made a joke about it towards the end. Was that an issue for the president? Do you think it's going to be an issue moving forward?
Look, President Biden's age has been the talk, of his campaign since he really announced that he was running for re-election. This is the same theme that we're going to continue to see for both him and President Trump. Majority of Americans polled believe that both of them are too old to serve a second term in office, but they are the presumptive nominee, and they're on their way to clinching the nomination for both the Republican and the Democratic Party. So, there's no denying that we're going to see these two candidates as, the final candidates on stage. But President Biden's age issue is not going away, and he tried to make a light moment out of it. He tried to joke, and the joke hit home because that's, exactly what majority of Americans who have been polled regularly think. And, that was his way of kind of acknowledging that, yes, he is older than most candidates that have run for presidency before, but that, he's taking that into consideration, and he tried to make a light moment out of it.
Well, the president covered a lot of ground. What do you think fell flat, and what do you think he should have talked more about?
Well, if you look at the Republican response to President Biden's speech after the State of the Union, they think his entire speech fell flat, right? They believe that it was too partisan. We heard from Speaker Johnson, who came out and said that, he panned President Biden's speech, but also you could look at his facial expressions during President Biden's speech, and he didn't like any of what he was hearing. He came out and said that some of the emotional reactions to President Biden's speech, like the heckling from Marjorie Taylor Greene, were because he viewed it as a highly partisan speech. So for the Republicans, they believe that it was too polarizing, too partisan, while, the Democrats believe that this is the most energized they've seen President Biden, and that put to rest whatever fears they have over the age issue. We heard from Democrats who said that, he came out swinging, he was energetic, he was energized, and they really liked seeing this fired up version of President Biden.
What did you think of the Republican response by Alabama Senator Katie Britt?
Look, Katie Britt is a rising star on the Republican scene. That's why she was picked to give the Republican response to the State of the Union. But most of it fell flat. She was, panned on social media after her speech for emoting too much and giving a too actorly-like response to President Biden. And, a lot of people, while she hit the talking points for the Republicans, over Biden's policies and over immigration and over inflation and, just the general fears of what Americans are feeling, her speech didn't go down too well. And majority of the Republicans on social media also felt the same way, that, that was really a miss.
So what happens now? Do both Republicans and Democrats go into campaign mode?
That's exactly right. We saw President Biden already kind of go into campaign mode last night. President Trump was giving a play-by-play on Truth Social as well, and that's really where we are going to see. It's going to only be a couple of weeks before both President Trump and President Biden clinch their nomination to be the next official candidates for their parties for re-election. We're going into high gear campaign season, and that's just what we're going to see both on Capitol Hill and on the campaign trail.
Sarakshi Rai, thank you very much for joining us.